Hello, my name is Darrell Benson. I am the intake therapist here at Eagle Ranch Academy. I've been with Eagle Ranch now for 10 plus years, and I believe our intake process is maybe not unique. It's a very significant part of our program. And some parents ask, why have an intake therapist? As the intake therapist, I am able to have firsthand experience with the student, get to know them, get to know where they will excel in the program, the areas they may struggle in the program, get to know their personalities, and then I get to match them up with the therapist that's going to best fit that child's personalities, that child's way of learning, and also match up the therapist with the parents, because it's not just a student that has to mesh well with the therapist. Because of the family therapy that we do at Eagle Ranch, it's important that the therapist be able to work well with the parents as well. So the intake process, I'm able, through communication with the parents, daily interaction with the student, I'm able to match up who's going to work best with that family. Things that you can expect for the intake process. Typically, I work with students anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, maybe beyond. It actually depends on that child, their level of engagement, and how that child comes into the program. A student that comes into the program extremely angry, it's going to take them a little bit more time to work through that anger than a child who comes to the program willingly or asking for the help. So it just depends on that child. During the intake process, I sent out an email to parents, which is an outline of an impact letter. And what the impact letter is the parents, siblings, sometimes even aunts, uncles, grandparents, depending on the level of engagement the extended family has with that student, may write an impact letter. And in that impact letter, parents and whomever decides to write one are detailing to that child how their behaviors and actions have impacted their lives, whether that be parents missed hours of work, siblings missing out on fun activities, whatever it may be. Because a lot of times the kids think that their actions only impact them. And the impact letter is that way of allowing the family members to share with this young man or this young lady, no, your behaviors have impacted us in a negative way as well. Many parents have trouble writing the impact letter because they don't want to label their kid as a bad kid, or don't want to, just for lack of a better words, just tearing the kid down. And that's not the purpose of the impact letter. The purpose of the impact letter is just to be honest and direct. It's a very powerful thing for parents to write and for the child to hear. What the child can expect during the intake process is we have a self-discovery phase, and self-discovery is simply that child's opportunity to present him or herself to the rest of his peers and staff. Some of the things that are in the self-discovery packet work is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teenagers. The child will read that book. There are worksheets that go along with the book, and the child has to go through and work through those worksheets, answer questions, present that to their staff, and demonstrate that they have taken something. It doesn't have to be extensive, but demonstrate the ability to say that this is what they've taken from reading the 7 Habits and how they can apply it not only here at Eagle Ranch, but how they also can apply it beyond Eagle Ranch and just in life in general. Another part of the self-discovery is the weakness paper. They identify one or two weaknesses that they see within themselves, nothing that staff points out to them. Is what they feel within themselves is a weakness. They talk about that weakness, and then we ask them to take those weaknesses and write about how they can become a strength. So if a child's weakness is communication, they will talk about how they view their lack of communication as a weakness, and then they will in turn figure out how they can use communication as a strength. So it gives them an opportunity to, okay, I see where I'm weakest at, but how can I turn that into a strength and something positive? They have the Who Am I collage, and that's just self-explanatory. They get to draw pictures, maybe pull a few pictures off the internet, and it's just putting together a collage of who they are as a person, the things they like, sports, music, surfing, whatever it may be. It's just, this is who I am. And then the most significant part of that self-discovery packet work is the amnesty. The amnesty is the come clean letter. Mom, Dad, this is what I've done that led you to placing me in treatment. It can be, there's an outline that details what they are to be addressing in that amnesty. Drugs, sex, alcohol, whatever it may be that led them to treatment. They will give a detailed description of those events, and once that's done, signed off by staff, signed off by their therapist, but then they present that to the parents. They will read that to the parents, and that is that beginning stage of when family therapy will initiate. The child will read the amnesty to the parents, and then if the parents have any questions, answering the child is to verify any questions that the parents may have, and that's it. And kind of let's wipe the slate clean and let's have a fresh start. And for some students, it is the most difficult thing that he or she has written in their life, because they have to take a look at what they've done. And for some students, it's very difficult to write. They may rewrite it 4 or 5 times just because A, sometimes they don't remember everything that they've done, and B, it's just difficult to write. And going back to the impact letters that the parents write are my tool to help me hold the kid accountable in the amnesty, because the amnesty and parents' impact letters need to have some of the same information. So if the parents are writing about one significant incident and it's not in that child's amnesty, I hold that child accountable and ask them, well, what about this? Are you missing something? And gives them the opportunity to really think about, like, oh, okay, I do need to add that. Within the first 2 weeks that a child is here, my communication with parents is typically twice a week, beginning of the week and then the end of the week. However, parents are free to email me as needed. We here at Eager Ranch understand having your child sometimes thousands of miles away from home, a lot of time for the first time, it's difficult. And so I want to make myself as readily available as possible. An email is a great way to stay in touch with me because it's easily accessible and it doesn't take me away from interacting with your child or other students. And then after those first 2 weeks, it's once a week, because at that point I want to begin preparing parents for that transition time. That transition period, because once they transition to the therapist who's going to take them through the program, you will only have contact with your child once a week through family therapy. And that is until that child earns social calls, and that's later down the line. But from intake therapist to the therapist who's going to take them through the program, you have one family session a week. And that's why I begin after those first 2 weeks just making contact via Skype, via phone call once a week. However, as I said previously, email is a great tool to use. If I've spoken to a parent and they have questions, email me, and I get back to the parents, answer the question within 8 to 12 hours, unless I'm out of the office. We also ask parents to limit communication to postcards. That lag in communication with your students gives not only you the opportunity to calm down and parents to catch their breaths and maybe pay a little bit more attention to their significant others or other children that may be in the home that perhaps have felt neglected because you've been dealing with a troubled teen, or you've been dealing with this one particular child that just has stirred up chaos in your home. That time between arrival and amnesty, that is a cool off time for both sides. And so communication is through postcards. It gives you that opportunity to decompress, but yet still communicate with your child to work through some of that anger. My engagement with the student is each child gets an hour individual session every week. I am on campus 5 days a week, and a child knows that they can grab me at any time if they need 5 to 10 minutes, and that's on top of or in addition to their hour session, that they can do that. Because again, I want to be readily available. My caseload is smaller than other therapists, so I have that flexibility to do that and be more readily available, not only to parents, but to the student as well. The next thing, we encourage parents to find his or her own therapist so that parents can begin working on themselves. So when their child do return home, it's the family has healed, and not just the child has done their work. Here at Eagle Ranch, we have an outpatient program that we recommend to parents, and we offer that to parents as an option until they are able to find someone at home that he or she feels comfortable connecting with or talking with. The Eagle Ranch outpatient program is a great tool, and a lot of parents like the idea of speaking with someone who knows the program and can understand the Eagle Ranch lingo. There are a few things that I need to make to address about what your student can expect, not from me as far as my engagement with them, but out in the community. Is we pair them up with what we call a buddy. This is someone who knows the program, someone who has been here and quote unquote knows the ropes of Eagle Ranch Academy. And they are buddies with the new students for 3 days to answer questions and to kind of help them stay away from negative influences so that their perception of Eagle Ranch or of treatment is not tainted by someone who may still be angry or still be working through some difficult issues. So they get a buddy for those first 3 days. Upon arrival, our education coordinator will review transcripts to make sure that whatever classes the student is placed in, that they are in alignment with the child's previous school, to make sure that we can not only pick up where the child left off in the schools, but also help them get ahead. The child can expect to be the first night here to have an intro group. And the intro group is simply the kids and staff introduce themselves to the new student. They get to share who they are, where they're from, and kind of what led them to treatment. And the new student will be asked to do the same. And that's just, again, just giving the new student an opportunity to get to know the peers and the staff of who they will be interacting with. And so those peers and those staff get to know the new student as well. Another thing that your student can expect is a haircut. First haircut for boys typically is the most difficult one for many of the boys. The reason for the haircuts is to get them out of their image. That is the beginning process of kind of the choice base, because we don't force any kid to get a haircut. They have that choice. However, they are quite aware that their refusal to get the haircut is also their choice to kind of stall their program. What about the girls? The girls come in, a lot of girls come in with a lot of different colors in their hair, and the girls are required to go back to their natural color, whatever their roots are. And again, it's a choice. Now, I mentioned emails. It's going to be very important that in the first, second, and third weeks, parents pay attention to their emails. They will be being sent out parent-paid information on how to access pictures, how to access documents sent through Parent Portal, how to access growth sheets. Our growth sheets are designed so a student will be able to have a tool that helps he or she recognize the areas that needs addressing so that they can progress through the program. You parents see stuff like RW, NW, OW, W. What does that mean? RW means it stands for rarely working. NW, not working. OW, occasionally working. W, working. You will look at a growth sheet and you'll see stuff at the beginning like follow meal structure, follow line structure, follow school structure, and things such as that. And depending on how the student is doing, if they occasionally, I believe we have it broken down into about from 74 down to 50% of the time. If they are occasionally following it, they get an OW. The rarely workings, it goes down from 49 to like 25%. The non-workings, 0 to 24%. And so on and so forth. So it just gives them an opportunity to see visual feedback of the areas that they need to address, along with feedback that they get from peers, staff, therapists, in the many groups that he or she will be engaged in. That's the intake process. It may sound extensive, however, it allows the opportunity to get to know the student, not based off of what is presented to me in assessments, but it gives me the opportunity to get to know that student and match that student up with the best therapist who's going to be able to teach, guide that student in a way where that student is able to comprehend and feel comfortable doing so. Just like every student that we work with, each person has their own different personalities, and each of our therapists has different personalities, and we want to match those personalities up so we can have the best possible outcome, not only for the child's individual treatment, but for the family treatment as well.